Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jolie Knots Crochet. Hit share, go ahead and share with your friends, or you can hit that little bell to get notifications when new patterns release. Hi everyone, welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal, and today we are going to be making this Fall in Love beanie. This really cute textured beanie. It comes in toddler, child, and adult size. I'm going to be teaching you how to make all of them. Anastasia Smith of Journey Chanel Designs has made this a free pattern on her blog, so I will link that below in the description box. That way if you need the written pattern, also check out her other designs. She's got a lot of really amazing wearables, different sizing vests, sweatshirts, all kinds of stuff. So I'll leave the link for that below. Now I worked this beanie in two different ways. Let me explain to you. First off, the hooks that we're going to be needing for these are two. You're going to need an 8mm and a 6mm. The pattern is written for worsted weight 4 yarn. I used Yarn Bee Rustic Romance. This has got 228 yards per skein. I picked this one up on clearance at Hobby Lobby last year. And the color that I used is cotton stock. That's the one I used here. And I used less than a skein of yarn. And this one's got, like I said, 228 yards, 3.5 ounces. It is 15% hemp and 85% acrylic. Now, for this one here, I found that my head is big. I know, kind of silly, right? We all got different size heads, and the measurements that are average throughout for everybody are really not fitting everyone. So this one fits my daughter really well. She's got a normal size head, but when I wear it, I stretch out the band. And so what I wanted to do was make one for myself in a bulky 5-weight yarn. The yarn I'm using for this tutorial is Premier Yarns Serenity in the Chunky Sequins. It is a bulky 5-weight yarn. The color is Purple Rain, and it's 93 yards. This is 98% acrylic and 2% paillette, which I suppose is these little sequins. Alright, so I used 2 skeins of these. So I did use a 5-weight yarn for this. I used the same hook sizes, but the difference is this one's going to be a tad bigger, and it's also more stiff. It's not as flowy as this one, so you can see the difference. And it really, I mean, with the same amount of stitches, it probably came out about 2 inches wider than the worsted weight one. So of course, use which yarn you like. Now you know the difference and how we're going to work that out. You are also going to need some scissors, a tapestry needle, and what might be helpful to count your repeats, a stitch marker. All right, so go ahead and get your materials, grab your yarn, and let's get started. All right, so starting out with our 8mm hook, we're going to start with the magic ring. Now, a magic ring is really simple. It's pretty much just a slip knot, but instead of pulling your working yarn through, you're pulling your end through. Just like that. So then when we pull on our end, we can tighten up our ring. Okay? So, once you've got that, we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to put 11 half double crochets into our ring. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
9, 10, and 11. All right, so now when you pull onto the tail end, you can close up your ring. And then of course you want to weave that around. All right, so we are going to find our first half double crochet and slip stitch to the top of it. For round 2, we're going to chain 2, once we chain 2, that's not counting as a stitch. So into each half double crochet round, we're going to put 1 treble crochet, and 1 single crochet. And that is your repeat for this round. 1 treble crochet and 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now your treble crochets are going to puff out to what looks like the wrong side of your work, but the way that this hat is being worked is we are going to be working on the wrong side until we get to our band. So this side will be the side that's showing for you. All right, now that we have gotten to the end of round 2, we are going to slip stitch into the top of your treble crochet. And go ahead and pull that tight. You can pull this tight, you can weave this end in now, or you can weave it in later, whatever your preference is. So now getting started on round 3, we're going to chain 1 and put 2 single crochets into the first stitch. That's the same one we slip stitched into. And we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next stitch. That's your repeat. 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch. 2 and 1. Repeat that all the way around. Okay, so here we are at the end of round 3. You should have 33 single crochets. Now we are going to slip stitch to the top of our first single crochet. So this is the back of our work, which is the wrong side, is the inside of our hat. Your work now should look like this on the outside. Your treble crochets are creating not like, kind of like little baubles, but it's going to give it little pop textures. Okay? So now for round 4, we're going to chain 2. We are going to treble crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And then we're going to single crochet into that same stitch. Now we're going to treble crochet into the next stitch and single crochet into the one after that. So that's your repeat. Treble crochet and single crochet into the same stitch, and then we're treble crocheting into the next stitch and single crocheting into the next. So you should have 4 stitches across 4 stitches worked into 3. 2, 1, and 1. All right. So go ahead and continue that of a treble crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch, and then treble crochet into the next, single crochet into the next. Okay, here we are at the end of round 4. Your last stitch should have been a single crochet, and that should bring you to the first treble crochet. So we're going to go ahead and put a slip stitch into that treble crochet to close our round. Now if you're making this for a toddler or a preschooler, this is going to be where you stop your increase. So you're going to stop and then you're going to come back at row 9.
and then I'm going to teach you how to finish out your project. Now, if you're making this for like an elementary or a tween or an adult, you're going to keep going, and then I will tell you where to stop and continue. So moving along with round 5, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to put 2 single crochets into that same stitch. All right, now we're going to single crochet into the next 10 stitches. 2 and 10. That's your repeat. 2 single crochets into one stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next 10 stitches. So continue that all the way around. You should have 48 single crochets at the end of the round, and I will meet you back for round 6. All right, here we are at the end of round 5. You should have 48 single crochets, and we are going to slip stitch to the first single crochet and get started on round 6. Now, if you're doing a child size, not the toddler size, but if you're doing a child size, round 6 is going to be the last row before you skip to row 9. So you're going to work out this last row and then come back at round 9 so that you can finish off the size that you are going for. Round 6 is to chain 2. We are going to put a treble crochet into the same stitch that we slip stitched into, and we're also going to put a single crochet into the same stitch. Now we're going to put a treble crochet into the next stitch and a single crochet into the next. And we're going to do that 4 more times. 1 treble crochet into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So over a total of 10 stitches, we're alternating between treble crochet and single crochet. So here we are. In the first stitch, you should have 1 treble crochet and 1 single crochet. And then over the next 10 stitches, we'll do treble, single, treble, single, treble, single, treble, single. I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to do 1 more. Repeat. And that is the repeat for your round 6. 12 stitches. So, treble crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch, and then treble crochet and a single crochet, treble crochet into the next, a single crochet into the next one after that, and repeat that 4 more times. Once you finish your 4th repeat all the way around, you should end up with 4 stitches left before you can close your round. So go ahead and work that around the base, and I will meet you back over here. Okay, here we are at the end of round 6. You should have 4 stitches left after you completed your repeats, okay? So into the next 4 stitches, we are just going to put 1 treble crochet into the next, and then a single crochet in the next. Treble crochet and then single crochet, and that should take you up to your last stitch, where you will then slip stitch to the top of your treble crochet. So if you are working the child size, that will be the last row of your increases before we get to row 9. Your work should look like this on one side and like this on the side that you're working on. This will be your inside. Okay, so if you are working an adult size, we've got 2 more rows of increasing before we all meet back here at row 9 for every size. So for round 7, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to put 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Now we are going to single crochet into the next 12 stitches. 1, and 12. That is your repeat. 2 single crochets into the same stitch and then 1 single crochet into the next 12 stitches. When you finish out round 7, you should have 56 single crochets. Alright, so I have just finished out round 7 with 56 single crochets. I am slip stitching to the top of my first single crochet and I'm going to chain 2 to get started on round 8. Your work might look a little bit wobbly, starting to curl in, and that's totally normal. It's all going to work itself out once we get a little bit farther in our pattern, okay? So for round 8, we have our 2 chains, and now we are going to treble crochet into the same stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next stitch. Treble crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into the next. So we're not increasing here, we're putting 1 treble and 1 single every other treble, single, treble, single, treble, single, all the way around. You should still end up with 56 stitches, but alternating trebles and singles. So go ahead and work all the way around, and then I'm going to meet you back here at the beginning of round 9, where everyone's coming back, whether it's for a toddler size, a child size, or an adult size. We're all going to start again together at round 9. Okay, here we are at the end of round 8. This is also going to be counted as the end of round 4 for your toddler size, and the end of round 6 for child size. For a toddler, you should have 44 stitches around. For a child, you should have 52 stitches around. And for an adult or a teenager, you should have 56 stitches around. So we're going to slip stitch to the top of our treble crochet, chain 1, and we're going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch. So a toddler should have 44 single crochets. A child should have 52 single crochets, and an adult should have 56 single crochets. Go ahead and work those single crochets all the way around. Okay, here we are at the end of round 9, which was 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now our repeat rounds are rounds 8 and 9. So round 8 was to slip stitch, chain 2, treble crochet into the first stitch, single crochet into the next, and that's it, alternating. Treble crochet, single crochet. So we are repeating round 8, treble crochet, single crochet, and then we're going to repeat round 9. So for your toddler size, you are going to repeat round 8 and 9, So working this round 8, round 9 being single crochets, you're going to repeat that 3 more times. For a child size, you're going to repeat it 4 more times. And for an adult, you're going to repeat it 5 to 6 more times. That's just going to be dependent on how high you want your hat to go, or how thick. All right, I'm making an adult, so I'm going to repeat this 6 more times. This round right here will be my first repeat of it, my first repeat of row 8. And then I'm going to do my single crochets to row 9. So we're all going to go ahead and do our repeats, and I will meet everybody back here to do the brim. I'll teach you how to do the brim. Okay, here we are after all of my repeats. I did put a stitch marker just so that I can keep track of my repeats. Now, because I'm using a bulkier yarn, I did find that 4 repeats of rows 8 and 9 were sufficient enough to get the size that I wanted. This one is with the 4-weight yarn, this is with the 5-weight yarn. So as far as sizing goes down here, I thought 4 repeats was sufficient enough before I got to my brim. You, of course, can choose more repeats. You can choose less if you want, the depth of your crown to be shorter or taller, whatever your personal preference is. All right, so getting started on our brim, we've been working it like this, inside out on the wrong side. So now we are going to flip our work around. I don't need that stitch marker anymore, so let me get rid of that. We're going to flip our work around, and we're going to begin to work on the right side. So your puffs should be facing you. All right, so now with our brim, I'm going to chain 1, which I already have. I'm going to switch hooks. I'm moving from my 8mm to my 6mm. Get my chain on my hook. And now what we're doing is front post half double crochet around your first single crochet. So it is a little bit tougher to find the posts of a single crochet, but let me show you. You're basically going in the stitch and then out the other side, and that's your post. We're putting a half double crochet. Now around your next stitch, we're putting another front post half double crochet. Now we're going to do a back post half double crochet. So we're going around the back post of our stitch, which is really just underneath our V and then through the V on the other side, and we're going around the post half double crochet, and we're going to do this all the way around, alternating with 2 front post double crochets and 2 back. We're going to go all the way around, alternating between front post half double crochets and back post half double crochets. 2 front post half double crochets, 2 back post half double crochets, all the way around and around and around. Toddler size, you should still come up with 44 stitches at the end. A child size, you should still have 52 stitches, and for an adult size, you should have 56. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and I will meet you back. All right, so here I am at the end of my first round for the brim. I'm ending with 2 back post double crochets. It doesn't matter what size you're doing, you're going to always end with 2 back post double crochets, because your next 2 are going to be front post. Half double crochets, not double crochets, excuse me. Alright, so getting started on our next round, this is going to be your repeat round for the brim. We are going to chain 1, and now we're going to do a front post half double crochet around our front post half double crochet. And then we're going to do it again. Next, we've got back post half double crochet. So we're going to work a back post half double crochet around our back post half double crochets. And that's it. Whatever one you see present yourself, that's the one you're going to do. Switching off between 2 front post and 2 back post. Now this is your repeat round for your brim, and doing this round 3 times, working this one and then repeating it 2 more times should be a sufficient amount for your brim. Now I know we all have our own personal preferences. Some of you might want your brim thinner, some of you might want your brim a little bit thicker, and that's totally fine if you want to go ahead and add on a row or 2 to make it a little bit thicker. Alright, let me go ahead and finish this out, and then I can show you how I've completed my project. Alright, so here we are. I've got my 4 rows of half double crochet finished up. And now I'm just going to weave in all of my ends. We're also weaving in here. So on the inside here, remember we're pulling that really tight. This is your magic knot that can loosen and open, and that's where we made our adjustable ring. Okay, so in order to close this one up, all I'm going to do is go around and around and around. Gives me a little trouble pulling through because of the sequins. So we're just going around to make sure that's nice and tight. It's not going to come out. And when I put in my knot, I'll just do a couple and then tie it off. Oh, and then snip it off. Okay, and now I've got this end to weave in. I'm sure everybody's got their own techniques of how they like to do it. Mine, I think, just changes depending on the project that I'm doing and what I think is going to be sufficient and secure enough. This one I'm just going to basically whip stitch it down on the inside. And then put a knot here. Alright, and there we are. Thanks everybody for watching Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal. Come back and see us again. See the new tutorials that we've got going on. Don't forget the link from Journey Chanel Designs and Anastasia Smith. They are in the description box for the written pattern on the Fall in Love beanie.